Welcome back to WSAV News 3 today at 11. It is Monday, and that means it's time to, you know what to do, relax, relate, release. But we also want to remember some bite-sized mindset shifts and leadership tools that we're about to unpack to help us all think better, lead better, and live better starting today. You know what that means. Co-founder and CEO of the Good Life Brand, LLC, and executive leadership coach, Ilesha Graham, joins us now with more on this month's topic, and that is loosening that grip. You're stepping on toes today, Ilesha.
I'm stepping on my own today too, Kim. I was prepping for this, and then I realized I just did this yesterday. I was cleaning the house. My husband says, hey, let me help you. I can take care of the bathroom, sweep and mop. And my first thing is, nope, I've got it myself. Yeah. And then I had to catch myself. I was like, why did I say that? Yeah. I could, but help would be good.
Help would be good, but we always think that we can do a better job if we do it by ourselves.
Yes.
And sometimes that fist that you hold like this, holding on to stuff, you have to open it up to receive.
Oh, yes. And how many, like you said, we do it all the time. I'll do it myself because it feels responsible. We think we can get it done faster. We care about the outcome. We want it to be just so.
To our liking.
To our liking and just the way we want it. But obviously, I'm still working on this myself, but I've seen it in my own leadership. I've seen it with leadership when I'm coaching leaders. It's like when you're holding on so tight and you're the only one that can do it, what happens when you can't? Yeah. What happens when you have too much on your plate? And, you know, I think there is this side where nobody else gets a chance to grow, which we see that even in our parenting, right? We don't let our kids make their own lunch, pick out their own clothes because they just won't get it right. Yeah. But how do they ever learn and grow if we keep holding on to so many of those things so tightly?
And that's something that's very hard to do because failure is a part of success, but we don't want to see our loved ones fail.
Yes, we don't want to see them fail, especially like you said with our children. We don't want to see, you know, the balls get dropped when it's something that we really, really care about. But I have learned this lesson the hard way, especially in my own work. I remember my first principalship and I was so excited. I was like, I'm going to do everything myself. Mm-hmm. Part of it was because it was my first big leadership job. I wanted to prove that I could, but I was so afraid also of letting go, somebody else taking on the responsibility, dropping the ball, and then me being held accountable. So I said, no, I've got to hold on to these things so tightly. But what happened was, not only was I exhausted, I dropped several balls because I had too much on my plate, but I never gave my team a chance to grow. And the worst part was they could tell I did not trust them. So it really impacted our working relationship and our just overall team culture. So I learned this the hard way. Sometimes you got to just let people help you.
You do. And it also points to the fact that we often want so much control. We want to be in control of everything, and that's not a good thing.
No, it is not healthy. Like I said, just for our own mental wellness, for the people around us. And I think we also miss out on, you know, finding out about different ways that something can be done. When we don't let anyone else have any input, they might have a great creative idea, they might have some new innovation, they might have a way that's actually better than our way, but we never give anyone else a chance to share that because we are holding on so tightly.
You say it feels like a safety net when we do this, but it's actually a ceiling.
It is. It feels like leadership, but it is limiting. They said because people don't grow around you. You as one person, I'll say me, let me use the I statement, me as one person, I have a limited capacity of what I can do or where I have knowledge and expertise. And so it does become a ceiling and it becomes a risk factor because if there's something happens and I can't do it and nobody else can, then it all falls apart.
So we should ask ourselves some questions, right? You say the first one is, how do I make sure that I do this right?
Yeah. Well, a little bit flip to that. I think the mindset shift is instead of always saying, how can I do this right? You know, I think the better question is, what am I holding on to so tightly that someone else actually can take on? You know, what can I release and allow someone else an opportunity to grow? So that's the shift. Instead of it always being about how can I get it right, how can I bring other people along with me?
And it may also lead to resentment when you have a team and they feel this is supposed to be my job, but you're handling what my responsibilities are supposed to be.
Yes, for sure. And that's why I said I definitely found that out when my team was starting to get really angry and resentful and frustrated. So I think, for leaders, it is really important, even like it's Monday. So look at across your week, what's one thing I can let go of? What's one thing I can pass off? And don't micromanage it. Understand it's going to look different. It may not be done the same way that you would do it, but doesn't mean that it can't be done well.
Yeah, and you mentioned earlier that it's so unhealthy because it does lead to burnout. Your mind is in several different places, and sometimes it leads to nothing being done right.
Yes, because we get overwhelmed with all the decisions and all the choices and all the things, and then nothing gets well. It's like that divided mind. And so when you can really hone in on your lane and let people really own their lane, it becomes such a stronger team and outcome.
So what's the difference between having high standards and just needing control?
Yeah, this is such a good question. I think high standards is tied to, was it done well? Did it meet the goal? Are we getting to the outcome? Control is, was it done exactly the way that I would have done it to get there? And so that can become a little slippery slope, but it's important to be able to name the difference.
So if someone out there is watching and they say, that's me, and that someone is me, that's me, okay, I'm just telling you right now,
I did it
that's
this weekend.
me. What do we do? Where do we start? It's hard.
It is, and so pick one thing, start small. Maybe it doesn't have to be something with a major outcome, but just to give yourself some practice, let it go. Give someone else the responsibility, take a step back, and recognize you're not lowering your standards. You're just giving other people an opportunity to grow. And so I said, instead of controlling and holding on so tight, loosen your grip and just watch what is able to grow around you.
So we talked about this leading to people feeling resentful against you. What about this? Sometimes you also think, I have to do everything by myself. Yeah. And that builds up in you because you think when you're telling people no, but you're like, here I am with everything, all these jobs that you asked for.
Right. Then we begin to almost resent the other people because they're not helping, and we created that environment. And so this requires such deep self-reflection and honesty. Did you create the situation that you are now living in?
Yeah. My toes are tender right now because you just stepped on all 10 of them. All right, Ilesha, thank you so much.
You're so welcome
for joining us today. You can find more information and see this interview again anytime by visiting our website. That's WSAV.com/community corner. Stay with us. We'll be right back.